The shadow in the attic. Deep within the old Victorian house, there was a small attic that had been long forgotten. The door was hidden behind a piece of furniture, and no one had ventured up there in years. One day, a new family moved in and decided to explore the old house from top to bottom. They eventually found the door to the attic and pried it open. As they made their way up the narrow staircase, they noticed a strange feeling in the air, as if something was watching them. When they reached the top, they found the attic to be filled with dust and cobwebs, but nothing else. Disappointed, they turned to leave, but suddenly heard a strange noise. They turned back to see a shadowy figure lurking in the corner. Its eyes glowed red, and its body seemed to shift and twist as if it were made of smoke. The family froze in terror, unsure of what to do. The figure slowly moved towards them, and they could feel its icy breath on their faces. As they tried to back away, the figure let out a blood-curdling scream and suddenly vanished into thin air. The family ran down the stairs, never to venture back up to the attic again. From that day on, strange things began to happen in the house. Objects would move on their own, strange whispers could be heard in the dead of night, and the family felt like they were being watched at all times. They soon realized that they had awakened something in the attic, something that should have stayed hidden forever. As time passed, the strange occurrences in the house became more frequent and intense. The family tried everything they could to rid the house of the entity, from hiring paranormal investigators to performing exorcisms, but nothing seemed to work. One day, a brave young girl decided to venture up to the attic to confront the shadowy figure. She climbed the stairs, feeling a sense of unease and dread with every step. As she reached the top, she found the figure waiting for her, its eyes glowing with a fierce intensity. The girl stood her ground, facing the entity with a determined look on her face. To her surprise, the figure began to speak to her in a voice that was both haunting and alluring. "Why have you come here, child?" it asked. "I have come to put an end to your reign of terror," replied the girl. The figure chuckled, amused by her bravado. "You cannot defeat me," it said. "I am eternal, and I will always be here, lurking in the shadows." The girl refused to back down, and she began to recite a prayer she had learned from the local priest. As she spoke the words, the figure began to grow weaker and weaker, until it finally dissipated into nothingness. From that day on, the strange occurrences in the house ceased, and the family could finally live in peace. The girl became known as a hero in the town, and people would often come to her for help with their own ghostly troubles. But even though the shadowy figure was gone, the memory of it lingered on. The attic was forever known as a place of darkness and dread, and no one dared to enter it again. The family eventually moved away, leaving the old Victorian house to rot and decay, a silent reminder of the terror that once lurked within its walls. One day, she received a strange letter in the mail. The letter was addressed to her and bore no return address. The girl opened the envelope to find a single sheet of paper inside, on which was written a single word: "Come." The girl felt a sense of unease as she read the message. Something about it felt familiar, as if she had heard those words before. Despite her misgivings, she couldn't shake off the feeling that she needed to investigate. So, she made her way to the old Victorian house, her heart beating faster with every step. As she climbed the stairs to the attic, she heard a strange noise, a sound like something scraping against the floorboards. She pushed open the door to the attic and saw a figure standing in the corner. It was the shadowy figure that she had defeated all those years ago. But this time, it was different. This time, it was more powerful, more menacing. It seemed to have grown stronger in the intervening years, and its eyes glowed with a fierce intensity. The girl tried to run, but it was too late. The shadowy figure grabbed her by the arm, and its icy touch sent shivers down her spine. It began to whisper in her ear, its voice low and seductive. "You cannot defeat me, child," it said. "I am eternal, and I will always be here, lurking in the shadows." The girl struggled to break free, but the entity was too strong. It seemed to be draining her of her life force, sapping her energy with every passing moment. Suddenly, the girl remembered something. She remembered the strange feeling of déjà vu she had experienced when she read the letter, and she realized that she had seen those words before. They were the last words of a woman who had been killed by the shadowy figure many years ago. The woman had been the shadowy figure's last victim, and her spirit had been trapped inside the entity all these years. The girl began to recite the prayer she had learned from the priest all those years ago, and as she did, she felt a strange power coursing through her veins. The shadowy figure began to weaken, and its grip on her arm began to loosen. But it was too late. The girl had already given too much of herself to the entity, and as the shadowy figure dissipated into nothingness, she collapsed to the floor, her body lifeless and still. The old Victorian house became known as a place of darkness and dread, a warning to all who dared to enter. The memory of the girl who had defeated the shadowy figure faded into obscurity, and the truth of what had really happened in the attic was lost to time.